I would rather leave something on a high than watch something I love die a slow, painful death. And he's not dead yet, but the world is getting sick and is suffering. So we'll see what happens in book 3, but if book 3 kills Percy Jackson for me, I'm going to be so fucking upset. Like, genuinely, I'm going to be so mad. I'm going to be so upset at whoever wrote this book, whether it's Rick or someone else. I am like, you have to get book 3 correct. The world that I've loved since I was 12, you cannot take this from me. So you have to get it right. And the thing is, unless we complain, they're not going to know. With all of these positive reviews, they're not going to know that something's wrong unless the fans step up and go, wait, there's something not right here. So that's why I made this review. I didn't make this review to shit all over Rick or whoever wrote the book. It's just a, hey, you fucked up here, and this is how you fucked up, and please don't do it again. I don't even know where to start. I don't even know where to start with vocalizing my disappointment for this book. It was one of our most anticipated reads of 2024, and it's just failed to meet not only those standards, but just the standards of any Percy Jackson fan who knows the lore. It doesn't make sense. There's so many inaccuracies, and we need to talk about it, because I cannot read another review that's like, not the best, but we love Uncle Rick, so 5 stars, not the best, but love Percy. This was so cute. No, it wasn't cute. And whether or not you call him Uncle Rick, like, you're allowed to, as a fan, say, you know what? No, this book should not have been green-lit. This book needed to be combed through a lot more, edited a lot more. And I'm not talking grammar. I mean, contextually, there are so many things that just made me want to rip this beautiful hardcover that I got, by the way, that I pre-ordered, and I waited so long for it to come. It took so long to arrive. So I actually ended up starting it on Spotify, and I was just like, what? Surely this is a mistake. Like, I was listening to the audiobook and I was like, there's just no way that is what I'm hearing right now. Hi there, it's Bear and Tora from the Pomegranate System, and today we are talking about Percy Jackson Wrath of the Triple Goddess, which is the sequel to Percy Jackson Chalice of the Gods. This is a new trilogy. It's set between Heroes of Olympus and the Trials of Apollo, and it documents Percy's senior year of high school. And basically in Chalice of the Gods, Percy figures out that he needs 3 recommendation letters to get into the college that his girlfriend Annabeth is going to. So he gets his first letter in this book, and you assume he's getting his second letter from this book. And the concept, there's nothing wrong with the concept. I'm saying it right now, there's nothing wrong with the concept. I like the idea of him having to get letters to get into school. I'm not arguing about the concept. I don't think it's too much of a basic concept, too much of a rudimentary concept, which are dialogues and narratives I've seen online. I like it. My problem is also not with the structure, because on a technicality, there's Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. Like, structurally, it's a book. Good job. That's why I gave it 10%. I've worked out the star system, by the way. Someone told me to do 20% per star, so half a star is 10%. That's what I gave this book, because at the end of the day, it is a book. Well done. It was written. Everything else sucked. Obviously, I'm older than the average Percy Jackson fan now. Like, obviously when I started reading them, I was 12, and now I'm 27. So I love these characters so much. These characters have been with me for more than half my life. For more than half my life, I have loved these characters. So I know them like the back of my hand. You know who doesn't know these characters like the back of his hand, but should? Rick. Rick should know the characters by the back of his hand. Like, I understand he set up this whole world, which is why people are saying that it reads as if it's been ghostwritten. He has used ghostwriters in the past. That's not a secret, but it's not a negative thing, like ghostwriters, that's just part of the industry. I'm not hating on him for having ghostwriters. Those were for the companion books, that's fine. But like when you're writing the continuation of a series, you just think that even if it was ghostwritten, you would want to, as the primary author, read over it and make the corrections before it gets published. Like, people are saying it's also ghostwritten because like there's no way he can write a book that fast. That's just tosh. I'm mutuals with fanfic writers who bang out stories this long, like every 3 months. Like, people can write this quickly. Let's start with chapter 1. Why is he wetting his pants? Like, that's my main gripe with this whole book, is they're reading like 12-year-olds. Like, he's a late teenager now. We find out he has his driver's license, who's like crawled through the depths of fucking Tartarus. Why is he wetting his pants upon meeting a goddess? Okay, fine, maybe it was really scary. Whatever, I don't believe it, but sure, he wets his pants. But then tell me why in chapter 3, Annabeth is organizing the party and she wants cobwebs? Page 27, Annabeth says, "I wonder if our house has enough cobwebs," Annabeth mused, "or if I should buy some more. Now my arachnophobic girlfriend's talking about buying cobwebs? Who are you?" "No spiders," she said, "just cobwebs, for ambiance." I'm sorry. We know that she's scared of spiders. Whatever, moving on. It's a cobweb that drags her into Tartarus around her ankle. You're telling me that she doesn't have any sort of trauma reaction to cobwebs after the cobweb grabbed her ankle and dragged her in the fiery pits of hell? You're telling me that she was just totally fine with that? Yeah, I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it. I'm not buying that she was like, yeah, cobwebs are fine. In fact, let's get more. Let's get more. Let's buy more. Let's like cover the whole house in cobwebs. No, not for ambiance. No, you were traumatized. You were traumatized by cobwebs, Annabeth. You were not, like, for a book that prides itself on being disability rep, like, CPTSD and PTSD are disabilities too. They're psychosocial disabilities. Where's the representation there? No, that's not happening here. Okay, moving on. Next inconsistency, chapter 4. Like, he's really laying into every chapter. I was like, no, that's not correct. Chapter 4, page 34 and 35. "I was glad I hadn't had to learn animal speak for my school's foreign language requirement. I'd barely been able to master numbers and colors in Spanish, even with my friend Leo Valdez as a tutor." Leo, who's presumed dead by the end of Heroes of Olympus. That was another little flag that flagged up to me. I was just like, hang on. Like, why am I having to pause reading and go through timeline and like other books to just be like, wait, am I going crazy? Or is this was not an enjoyable reading experience. The amount of times I had to stop and be like, what? One Tumblr user said, "Ah yes, Leo Valdez, the Leo Valdez that is currently presumed dead by all who know him, the Leo Valdez that is canonically lost in the Bermuda Triangle during the events of this book, that Leo Valdez, the Leo Valdez who is currently tutoring Spanish somehow." But then I did come across another post that was by Frozen Rose 20 who said, "When it comes to Wrath of the Triple Goddess and its mentions of Leo, there is a way it can still work out because they know Leo was alive before he arrived at the end of the Hidden Oracle. There's a whole plot point in the book where they know he's alive because he sends the scroll in advance and Apollo helps Harley build a machine so Leo can come back to camp. I can't remember if they give an exact date for when the scroll arrived at Camp Half-Blood, but considering they'd known a while during the Heroes of Olympus, which takes place in like January, it's very likely that by the end of October, when Wrath of the Triple Goddess takes place, the scroll has already arrived at camp, so Percy does know that Leo is still alive. The only part of this that doesn't check out is the whole Leo being his tutor." Yeah, so even if the scroll did arrive and they know that Leo's alive, how the fuck is he teaching him Spanish? Like, what? How does this make sense? Contextually, how does it make sense? Like, a book isn't a good book if it's just like written well and has no grammatical errors. Like, context matters. Tumblr user couldn't think of a funny name wrote, I agree Reardon should be better at catching inconsistencies in his book, but like ultimately it is his editor's job to do that. Whether you want to say he's using ghostwriters for this newest series or it's just the fact that churning out books as fast as he does is insane, like either way it's quite literally what the editor is employed for. The editor came out and literally says that they use the fandom wiki to like cross-check whether or not like contextually it makes sense, which is just... I understand that the Reardon universe is like nuts and massive, but like honestly don't take the job. Don't take the job if you're not going to commit to the job. Like the fact that thousands, tens of thousands of fans know more than you and are caught like correcting you online, like it's all like I don't want to put feelings in your feelings, but if that was me I'd feel embarrassed. Like I'd be wanting to do a redo like to prove myself. Like that's just, it's a little bit, I don't know, I just feel icky. And it just makes me feel icky. In terms of ghostwriters, like it could be ghostwritten. He has used ghostwriters before, like we know this. It's not a negative thing. That's what happens in the industry. Like I'm not going to hate him for using a ghostwriter. I am going to be annoyed though if the ghostwriter doesn't know the law and is contributing to these inconsistencies. Just in terms of the ghostwriter stuff, R.A. Leo Valdez on Tumblr says, Mary Jane Knight ghostwrote PJO Ultimate Guide and Kane Chronicles Survival Guide. Stephanie True Peters ghostwrote Camp Half-Blood Confidential, Camp Jupiter Classified, 9 from the 9 Worlds Guides to Hotel Valhalla, and Magician's Manual. So their credits can be found in the books. Like we know that he has used collaborative writers and ghostwriters under the name Rick Riordan. And again, that's fine, but they have to know the law. They just have to. I found another Tumblr user, but they must have deleted the post because I can't find it again, saying that the timing wise, he would have been writing this book if he wrote it at the same time he's doing the screenplays for the episodes of the TV show. And maybe there was some confusion because like 12-year-old Percy, obviously the narrative sounds very different, the internal monologue as well, to 16-year-old, 17-year-old Percy. He sounds more mature in The Last Olympian. Like how has he regressed? He's regressed to like a younger, more underbaked, underdeveloped version of himself. And it was really cringy. He's older now. He's and not just him, but Annabeth and Grover as well. I was like, why are they reading of like parodies of their younger selves? Which is what I put in my Instagram review as well. I was just like, what? Why do they sound like they're parodies of their selves in The Lightning Thief? Like, you know, in Avatar: The Last Airbender in book 3, where there's that play episode and it's just like so over the top and it's so bad.
Sokka, my only brother. We constantly roam these icy South Pole seas, and yet never do we find anything fulfilling.
All I want is a full feeling in my stomach. I'm starving.
That's the vibes that this book had. This book was giving non-serious and not in a fun way. Like if you want to be non-serious and jokey, like do it in a fun way. Another inconsistency, chapter 35, page 293, Clovis. He says, our friends charged into battle. Clovis waddled among the possessed people, yawning as he went. Coming from a child of Morpheus, that yawn was more infectious than the plague. Morpheus. Clovis is Morpheus's child? I found this one Tumblr user who said, Clovis from the Morpheus cabin? What the fuck, dude? I read The Lost Hero once when I was 14 and even I remember Clovis was Hypnos's child. Has he forgotten they were different gods or something? Dude, what even is this? For reference, I also read The Lost Hero as a teenager, so I had to go back and check, because again, why do I have to pause reading this book to fact check it? This again was not an enjoyable reading experience. Why do I have to pause, read, pause, start, pause, start? Page 103, he says, Clovis pointed to the tree branch, dipping milky drops above the fireplace. The river Leith in the underworld, it dissolves your memories, wipes your mind clean permanently. That's the branch of a popular tree from the underworld dipped into the Leith. It's the symbol of my father, Hypnos. Hypnos? Morpheus. Tumblr user MyPJO Stuff also said, reading the Wrath of the Triple Goddess preview because they released the first 3 chapters online, and immediately losing all will to continue, which I didn't, because it doesn't even take Rick 1 chapter to forget his own shit. And they're referencing when Percy says, my tongue turned to sand. I'd never formally met Hecate, but I knew her work. I remembered her from such hits as, I joined Kronos during the Battle of Manhattan, but then switched sides. Tumblr user says, Hecate never switched sides. During the Titan War, y'all, she was forced and blackmailed into joining up the Olympians after Kronos lost by the life of her own son. That's why Alabaster is alive, you know? That's kind of an important part of Alabaster's backstory. And it's like, again, you can see how that whoever wrote this, whether it's Rick or a ghostwriter, the lore is missing. The inconsistencies are inconsistent. How did we go from this to this? Percy sounds like a teenager here. Percy does not sound like a teenager here. He sounds like a baby. A whiny baby. It's not funny. None of it's funny. Like, I'm laughing, but it's not funny, is it? Nico Lloyd on Tumblr writes, Wrath of the Triple Goddess, spoilers, but not really. I'm actually so confused. Did Rick actually forget the name of the character he was writing about 2 sentences ago? Or is this something I'm just not getting? It says Dave, and then it says Paul, and like, where did Paul come from? Like, Paul just popped out of nowhere. Again, these things happen. Like, for example, in Anna Huang's Twisted Lies, Stella has a bodyguard called Brock, and Bridget has a bodyguard called Booth, and this is Stella's story, and Booth is mentioned once instead of Brock. Like, small things like this, they do get missed. But when you have so many inconsistencies, it just becomes a really disappointing read. And I think it hits so hard because, like I said, this was one of our most anticipated reads. Like, I love that because of the TV show, we're getting more Percy Jackson content from Percy, but it's almost, I don't want it if it's going to be like this. These are novels. These are not novellas. This is not fan fiction. These are novels that I paid for, and I've read better fan fiction. I'm just gonna say it. If you want to read stories that keep the integrity of the characters, at this point, you're better off reading fan fiction. These are not the characters from the previous series. Of Swords and Pens on Tumblr wrote, somewhere along the way, Percy being dumb to Annabeth smart has become a genuine part of their dynamic, when in the original series it was more like Percy's impertinent and could be slow on the uptake because he's not a walking encyclopedia of Greek myth in the way that Annabeth is, and she teasingly calls him Seaweed Brain, in a way that's supposed to be light-hearted and affectionate, but she doesn't actually think he's dumb. The characters have changed. One Tumblr user did point out that the biggest difference is how Annabeth sees Percy. Like, you can argue that the characters haven't changed, but the truth of the matter is that they have. The characters have changed, and we are defined by our actions and our thoughts and our beliefs. And Annabeth, in this book, is surprised that Percy is smart. He's not stupid, and it almost felt like the writer was putting him down. Like, why is he being put down? Why is he being infantilized? Like, it just was so strange. This was such a strange reading experience. It literally says, like this person pointed out, Annabeth often points out Percy's intelligence. Quoting, smart boy, Annabeth thought. She used to tease Percy for being dumb, but in truth his instincts were usually right on target. And then again, I mean, he's not dumb, he's actually pretty intelligent. I don't know, I'm just disappointed. I'm disappointed that I had to work so hard to read this book. I'm disappointed that it's getting so many good reviews, and I feel like I'm glad I found these Tumblr posts because it makes me feel more sane. because I'm reading these positive reviews and I'm like, are we reading the same book? It's not enjoyable. I guess if you knew nothing about Percy Jackson, if this was the first Percy Jackson series you were reading, then yeah, sure, it would be an enjoyable read. But then, is that what Rick's plan is? Is his plan to just get new readers or new watchers of the TV show to just start at Chalice of the Gods and just read this series instead of the other series? Is that his plan? Is he just like, forget everything I've ever written, just start here? Is that the plan? Because I don't think I want to be a part of that plan. I think, obviously, I've already bought book 1 and 2, so I will be buying book 3, because between the OCD and the autism, like, I'm not going to be able to have these 2 books on my shelf and not have the 3rd one when it comes out, so I will be buying the 3rd one. However, I think I'm done. This has really rattled my confidence in not just Rick, but the universe. I would rather leave something on a high than watch something I love die a slow, painful death. And he's not dead yet, but the world is getting sick and is suffering. So we'll see what happens in book 3, but if book 3 kills Percy Jackson for me, I'm going to be so fucking upset. Like, genuinely, I'm going to be so mad. I'm going to be so upset at whoever wrote this book, whether it's Rick or someone else. I am like, you have to get book 3 correct. The world that I've loved since I was 12, you cannot take this from me. So you have to get it right. And the thing is, unless we complain, they're not gonna know. With all of these positive reviews, they're not gonna know that something's wrong unless the fans step up and go, wait, there's something not right here. So that's why I made this review. I didn't make this review to shit all over Rick or whoever wrote the book. It's just a, hey, you fucked up here, and this is how you fucked up, and please don't do it again.